Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
Vikings Raid and Conquer is a new deck building game. If you watch any of my reviews, you know that I like deck building games, but I can be a snob about them too at some times. Marvel Legendary is my favorite, but I really like when there's a board, there's something else going on, and I've really liked Clank for that reason, right? So, Vikings Raid and Conquer gives us something a little bit different. What you're able to do here are those cards that you're trying to obtain, which are the raid cards. And you have a couple different ways you can do that. You can do that by burying cards, and that's a mechanism that would be very defensive position. Or if you have a strong attack, you can go out and attack those raid cards. Now you're always going to get the cards quicker through a raid because you can only bury one card at a time, and it's very slow and time consuming. And you'll usually do that if you can't attack or there's not something else that you want to do. It's almost like a default thing that you will do. But the attacking, if you can get your attack up and get your cards and lined up in the deck, but there's a lot of ways to get cards out of your deck that you don't want anymore by sacrificing them. A lot. And that's a great plus about this game. You can really thin your deck out. But if you're able to attack and get those, that's going to be a much quicker way, but it can be a bloodier way. The reason why is because then you have this thing called influence, where if you go on a raid party, everybody else who's in a raid party, only one person can get the raid card, the one you need to win the game. So if you go on a raid party, somebody else could go have more influence with you, and now you're helping them get the card. Now you're going to get a treasure for that. You're going to get something back for that. But you're helping them progress. So you want to make sure that you have the most influence and a very high attack. Well, if you don't have any influence, after the raid party goes, you could go on a lone raid. The problem with that is, if multiple people go on a raid party, only one can go on that lone raid. Whoever has the highest power. So if you're going to go alone by yourself, then you're going to have to go strong. And it's just this whole bucking system that you have to do. It's really, really brilliant. So if you got nothing, you're probably going to defend. If you have high influence, you're probably going to go to the raid party. Because even if you don't have enough attack to win, everybody else who goes is probably going to help you by no choice of their own. And then, if you have a high attack and no influence, you're probably going to want to go through the lone raid because you feel like you're going to be able to do that by yourself. Okay, so those are the kind of three options. Now, the fourth one is you can attack another player. If you feel like your attack is really high and somebody maybe is pulling away and you might want to steal something from them, or somebody has a really good card that you want, you can actually go on an attack against another player and use them. Now, they're stronger if they defend. If they go out in a raid party and kind of leave some people at home, theoretically, thematically, then they're weakened and you might be able to get a good attack in on them quickly and steal something from them. I see people defending a lot in this game. I play this with 3 or 4 different groups. I see people defending a lot because it's kind of your de facto thing. But if you see somebody kind of sneaking up where they should be attacking, and you never kind of know what they have in their hand, you're just kind of hoping or guessing or trying to monopolize on that, then you'll be doing what you want. So there's a lot of risk involved. Now, but when you risk in this game, the reward is worth it. So, you may risk a lot and lose this game, or you could risk a lot and win by a landslide. So it just depends on kind of how things play out and how the other players play the game. So you really need to watch what cards people are picking up in their deck to know who's got a strong attack, who's going to be defending a lot, who's doing this. Because that defending is nice, because you can bury your card and you can just buy a raid card, which is what you need to win the game. But it's a very, very slow process as opposed to going the offensive. The game is really pushing you to be on the offensive, which is great. That's what you want in a Vikings game, right? You want to go on the offensive. Now, when I first started playing this game, I did not have high hopes for it. I did not have high hopes for it at all. It was a struggle to get it to the table. I don't really like attacking games. I don't really like the one where I'm just stealing something from you. But my gosh, it works in this game. This game has just gone through the roof for me as one of my favorite deck building games. I don't say that lightly at all, because I really like deck building games. If you watch any of these reviews, you know that I'm fairly critical of games to the point where it may even be off-putting. But this game, I mean, it's really fun because if you just want to defend all the time, you can do that. You're probably, I don't know if you're going to win. It just depends on what everybody else is doing, but theoretically, you're not going to win if you go too defensive. It kind of forces you to go in. So even people who don't like attacking and doing those kind of things will kind of be put in that position. At the same time, you have to play against the people at the table. If they're going on a raid party, you don't want to go in kind of half-cocked with no influence, because you're just going to help them get a card. And then the lone raid, I mean, if you don't do anything on your turn, that's the worst possible thing. So you're almost gambling at times that, like, I'm going to have the best numbers to do this. I got a really good hand. Let's go and do this, because you set it before you play your cards. I really like what the different cards do that you're purchasing and kind of making your deck better. I like the fact there's a lot of ways to thin your deck. That's one of my biggest complaints about some deck building games. There's no way to thin your deck. So I never really can get my deck the way I want it. In this one, there are a lot of ways. And many times I'll be playing the game, and I'll tell people, don't underestimate thinning your deck in this game. This is a game that you want to thin your deck in. At least that's my strategy, and that's what I'm doing, and I'm sticking to it. You do what you want when you play against me. Every time I play, the scores have been pretty close. Now, when you get 5 raid cards, that ends the game, but you still count up your victory points. There's not a ton of ways to get victory points. Really, it's through the raid cards and getting a treasure card, which is you get treasure cards by rating. So there's not a whole lot of ways to get it outside of the rating, but that's what you need to be doing, and that's where the game is focusing you on. I love the board. I can't end this conclusion without talking about the board. Although the font may be a little small on it, I love that everything you need to know about the board is on, everything about the game is on the board. I like that all the powers, like ship build, all those things that come up are printed on the board. And the board is kind of double-sided, so it's on my side and it's on your side. I guess everything on the corners you would just kind of look at one way. Brilliant. I really like this game. It surpassed my expectations tenfold. It's really fun. I really like this game. I keep going back to it. Now, I've never even seen the show Vikings. It's on my queue list. I really want to watch it. It's something that I want to get to at some point. So I went in not even being a fan of Vikings. I went into it that way. Highly recommend this game. This game will be a keeper. And more importantly, this game is going to hit my table. This game is going to hit my table. I really like it that much. So great job on Vikings, Raid and Conquer, the deck building game. Absolute keeper. Check this one out. If a deck building game with a little bit extra and some fighting in between players sounds like fun, this is the game to do that in. It's not a passive game whatsoever. Here are the components for Vikings Raid and Conquer, the deck building game. This is screenshots, I guess, from the TV show. The characters are some kind of promotional layout. I don't watch the show, so I can't tell you too much about it. You're going to get a rule book with the Vikings logo. The rule book is pretty good. I like the color, the use of a lot of pictures and design into this. So I do like the layout of that. You're going to get a giant player aid. There's only going to be one of these in the game. And it pretty much will tell you a lot of the rules. Just a little bit of the nitty-gritty that you need to learn. And as always, I'll come back to the game board in a second. You're going to get a pretty darn good insert. At first, you're kind of like, how to do this. So what I did was I put my pins down here that you'll be using, and I have my 5 character circles that we'll be using also, and my URL, and I kind of stick it in here. And there's 6 slots for cards, and I'm able to divvy up every single type in here, and then the Viking cards take up 2. So, for example, I'm gonna have my warrior cards. You'll notice that these all act exactly the same, and I think there's 3 different pictures used within, so that's kind of nice for a little bit of variety. You're going to have some coin cards. They're all going to be exactly the same, and you get quite a bit. These are going to be your most generic of cards. Here are some of the Viking cards. Oh, a coin got in there. That's very easy to do because they share it back. So there's some mix in here. Somebody didn't put these up right, but you can see all of these are steals from the game. Okay. We have the treasure cards, which all have this lady on them, looking at jewels, and you have a few of them with a different still from the show, but they all work exactly the same regardless of the picture. The card quality of the cards I wasn't entirely crazy about. Probably not my best feature of the game. But if you did decide to keep this, as with most deck building games, I think you're going to sleeve these anyway. That's just the nature of the beast with deck building because you're shuffling so much. But the graphic art on the cards is really, really good. So the cost is always up here. The wordage of what you need to learn is down there. And here's the longboats. These are the cards. Once again, a nice touch of detail is that there are different pictures used for the same, which amounts to the same card, which is much appreciated, and kind of gets you in a feel for the TV show as much as possible. And these are the cards that you'll probably be raiding and defeating to get victory points. And you can see each one has their own unique card. You do have these player aids that are really small that everybody gets. These are probably useful, very useful. Probably the cheapest component in the game, but once again, they just kind of sit on the board. You're not really shuffling these or anything, so they're sufficient. I do want to give like a lot of credit to the use of this insert and how you can divide it. If you have this set up properly, I mean, you can literally get up and play in about a minute because the organization of this is so great. I don't think you'll see any third-party inserts come out, at least until there's an expansion, because it's just so fantastically designed. And overall, the components are really good. I like movie stills and TV stills. I like that a lot because it really brings me in. I know some people just don't like that, and so be it. But for what here is really, really good. Now, as for characters you can play, you're going to have 5 from the show. Floki. You're going to have Ragnar, Rollo, Bjorn, and Lagerthia. And then you're going to have one giant turn marker that actually is double duty as the Earl in the game. The last component's going to be the board. And what you're going to have here is a place for your coins, a place for your treasure, a place for your longboats, hacks, silver, and warriors. And those cards are all the same. You'll have the raid deck that comes up, and you'll have the Viking deck where you'll be placing the cards. I just think that the background is beautiful. I really like the way that it looks. More importantly, what you have, if you can kind of see here, is you have a complete rules explanation. Once you kind of know where the game is, this will tell you everything you need to know. There's special icons or words on a card. They're all defined right here. The font is a little small, especially when you get down here into section 4, trying to learn the 4 actions you have, which is probably the most important part. The font is small. But what's brilliant about it is it's printed on the board twice and upside down over here for the other side of the board, which is fantastic. So it's going to be very, very useful. Really like this board. Very, very functional. And you utilize this as a player aid also, depending on which side of the table you're sitting on. Great. It's smart to think about that in advance. After reading the rules, I had a little bit of problem with them, but I realized that everything was in there. It was my own comprehension of it, so I should bring that up. The rules are actually pretty clear. I like that they're all printed on the board. This is one of those games where it's almost so different than most deck building games with the fighting going on that I'd be like, just let's play a game. Let me go over the rules with you. Let's play a game, and you'll kind of understand everything. After a half a play, you'll get all the little words that are going in, and some strategies will start coming into your head. So, very good. I really like the rule book. I like how it was organized very well, and I ended up learning it. It's a little tricky because the first 4 rounds, you're just buying cards and kind of making your deck before you jump into the game part of it. And that was just nice. It was very, very well done. So the first thing you do when you're going to do setup is you're going to look at this, and these cards are going to have levels 1 through 5, and depending on the number of players, you'll include. So basically, with a 2-player game, you'll have level 1s and 2s. With 3, you add in 3s. With 4s, you add in the 4 cards, and 5, you add in 5. But there's a certain number that will come out to start the game, and kind of how it flows. So you'll set these cards up, and you'll put this out, and based on the number of players, which I'm not going to fool with right now, you're going to put out a number of raid cards with different levels. When the game starts, everybody's going to get 8 coin cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 2 longboat cards. And like most deck builders, you're going to shuffle these up. And you're going to draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you are. You start the game. In addition, you're going to have these Viking cards out. And these are going to be cards you can add to your deck, and they will do different things. For the most part, there's a couple different kind of cards going on. I like to say there's Viking cards that help you fight, there's cards that help you buy things, and then it's kind of like action cards, if you will. So for the first 4 rounds of the game, which is going to be the easiest, you're just going to buy cards. You're going to take your cards, and you're always going to have 5 the first turn, and you're going to buy cards. Now you can buy any of these cards that are up in the Viking row. You can buy a longboat, a hacksilver, or warrior. Let's talk about this. So the longboat costs 3 coins, gives you 1 fight and 1 coin. And you need this to go on any kind of raids. With the hacksilver card, it costs 2 coins. It gives you 2 coins every time you draw it. And you can sacrifice it to get hacksilver, get 1 for your initiative. And you can always buy a warrior that's 1, gives you 1 fight, but you can sacrifice it for a coin or sacrifice a warrior to gain a hacksilver. So let's talk about sacrifice. What sacrifice means, on your turn, you turn this over, and you can't use any of the abilities on it, and then you would get this. So sacrifice a warrior card, I could turn this over and I would get 1 coin. But at the end of my turn, it would go back to the supply. Now these cards in the row are just the same, except for there's not an unlimited amount of them. So this one costs 4 coin. That's how many coins, remember I have 5 this round, that it would take to buy this card. When I do, I get 3 fighting ability, and I have the ability of Battle Frenzy. That means +1 attack to each other Viking control. So every Viking I have this round gets +1 to their attack. And some of the cards will do other things. This one is, you may gain 1 Viking with a cost of 5 or less from the Viking row, or you may take 1 warrior from the warrior pile and put it in play. This lead ship gives me 1 fight, 1 coin, and 1 influence, and it's a command ship. It's +1 to each other longboat. I get 1 influence for each other longboat I control this round, and this counts as a longboat. So these will do different things. So for the first 4 rounds, I'm just spending my currency, and I'm buying a card, putting it in my discard pile like any other deck building game, and putting a new one out. Now, when those first 4 rounds are over and we enter into the 5th round, you can then kind of start playing the game, if you will. And I'm going to show you, everybody's going to get one of these characters, which will automatically give you 2 attack and 5 defense. And really, there's 4 different ones you can pick, even though it looks like there's more things you can do. You can always defend. You can go on a raid party. You can go on a lone raid, which is raiding by yourself. Or you can attack one of the other parties. And the reason why all their names are here is because you're going to tell me who you're going to pick in advance. I'm going to attack Rollo. I'm going to attack Rollo right here. That would be my selection. Or if I wanted to defend, I would go here. So the first thing you'll always do on your turn is you'll draw your 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to have my 5 cards, then I will look at those and kind of decide what I want to do for the turn. And then I will secretly pick something. And sometimes you'll want to turn it upside down so people can't guess what you're going to do. And then I would turn this down. Then, on my turn, I would place all of my cards face up so everybody can see them. And then I buy a card, if I want to, from this row or this, just like I did in the first 4 rows. After everybody purchases, then everybody will flip this over and do this in order. And once again, you're only using the cards that you've already played this turn. If you sacrifice something and it was turned upside down, it's not part of the 4th round or the 4th phase that we're getting to go into. Only the ones that are face up that you've used. So let's talk about this. So the first action you can take is defend. And defend is useful because it allows you to take a treasure, a hacksilver, or a coin and bury it. And you turn it upside down and you get a new pile. This is my buried pile. And let's say during the game I had, at some point, a coin, a treasure, and a hacksilver in here in my bury. So on my next turn, I bury another card. I'll put another coin here. After you bury, you can then take the cards that you have buried throughout the game, count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can purchase, or what the game calls acquire, any of these cards, these raid cards. In this case, it would cost me 5 coins from my bury pile to purchase this. So then what I would do is I would take 2, 3, 4, 5. This one I don't need. This is my 6 cards. So I would leave this one buried because I can use it on another turn. Now, my hack silver goes back in their supply, as does the coins. They go back in their supply. If I had a treasure card, because it's worth victory points, it's going to go in my raid pile. So now I would have this card in my raid pile and the Viking, my treasure. So right now, I have 2 victory points, 1 for each of these cards. If a player ever gets 5 raid cards, not 5 cards in your raid pile, but 5 raid cards, the round will end, and the game will end at the end of the round, and you would count up your points to see who won. So that's how defend works. Now, defend is also useful because if anybody attacks you, I get to use my base defense score of 5 plus any attack that I have this round. So because I'm not really using my attack, I get to use it to defend. So that can be very powerful if somebody chooses to attack you. I'm going to talk about next the attack. So if I wanted to attack Floki, say for example, and you would look here at the Floki card, his defense is 5. If he chose anything other than defense for the turn, his defense is 5 regardless of anything else. If my power is higher than 5, then I have successfully won that attack. I have a choice of what I can do. I'm going to get a treasure for that. I can take either the top card from his draw pile, I can take a card from his discard pile, or I can take a card from his raid pile. If I fail, nothing happens. I wasted my turn. That's how that works. And that can be for any of the other players in the game. The next thing you can do is raid. If I had a lot of attack and I wanted to raid, what we would do if multiple people raided is we would count up our influence. Influence is signified by this blue icon. So the more influence I had, the more likely I am to be chosen as the Earl. Whoever has played the most influence will be named the Earl and thus take the first player marker on the Earl side. Wonderful. That means I can use my attack this turn to try to defeat one of these raid cards. And they're different. So this one has 20 defense. So if I get 20 or above of a raid score, I get 5 victory points. This one only has a raid defense of 6. If I get 6 or above, I can take this card and get 1. If another player also played the raid party, and there's enough longboats, 1 for each player to take, I can command them to come with me, and they must come with me. Now the reason, if somebody had played the defense, I can command them to come with me, but they have a choice to come with me or not. The only reason why they would come with me is because even though I defeat it and get the raid card and the victory point, they will also get a treasure card for just being one of the raiders. Now, I'm not sure why anybody who's defending would go on a raid just to get a treasure card, but it is in the rule book that you can. But if you're in a raid party and somebody commands you to go, you must go if there's a boat for you to go. And that's kind of how raid party works. The last possible action is lone raid. If somebody had selected a lone raid, this means you want to go raid by yourself, and it will happen after the party has raided. So the lone raid, if multiple people tried to do the lone raid, whoever has the most power for the round will get to go on the lone raid. The other player will get nothing. Then, it's very easy, you get to raid something. And if you have enough attack to raid, you will get the victory points, and you will get a treasure card. For the most part, the general rule is anytime you get a raid card, you're also going to get a treasure card to go with it. First person to get 5 raid cards will end the round, or end the game, and you count the victory points and you win. If all of this has been taken care of for all the players and it still hasn't, the game hasn't ended, you just start a new round by drawing a new hand of 5 cards and starting all over. Who should buy this game? Fans of the Vikings series. This is so much better than the other Vikings game. I can't even tell you how much. So if you like the Vikings show, this is an automatic must buy. No questions asked. If you like the Vikings theme, so you just like Vikings in general, yes. For a deck builder, I cannot believe how much this felt like I was going out after getting stuff. I was recruiting my people. I was getting my boats together. I was doing all that. It just worked brilliantly. I could even attack the other players and kind of steal their stuff, which was great. Liked that quite a bit. If you like deck builders, this is a really strong deck builder. I really like the fact that there are a lot of ways to thin your deck. that is so nice to finally have it in a game. At the end of the game, I kind of feel like, okay, this is my team, this is my deck, and this is what I want to do. And you want to thin it down at the end of the game to get as much of that rating as possible done as quickly as possible. What else do we have here? I think that if you like any kind of interaction between the players, and that's lacking in a lot. I mean, the one I can think of is like Alien Legendary Series. It had a lot of interaction of helping. This one's competitive, so I'm going to be fighting against you with these cards, and you have a way to defend yourself. I just really, really like this game. Absolute keeper, and you should definitely check this one out. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel, lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing games.